If you want the most exciting foodie spots in London, locals suggest that you head south, and that's why we've come to Peckham to catch up with a chef who is making waves on the London food scene with a South African twist. Okay, let's just start with Patrick. Where do you come from, and how did you start that journey from being in Durban, in South Africa, and making your way across?
Well, it started when I was quite young. My brother, who's older by 7 years, he decided to become a chef when he was about 17, 18. So sort of as he was going through college, cooking, sort of working in the industry, I kind of got caught up in it, saw how much energy it took, and I have bounds of that, so that was quite an interesting aspect. When I was about 15, he moved down to Cape Town, and then sort of thought, well, it'd be a good space for me to take up and start cooking in the real world. My brother said there's no better place than to move down to Cape Town. So as soon as I finished school, I moved down to Cape Town, spent about just shy of 10 years there, cooking in some of the top spots there, worked at places like Alarm, worked with PJ Vadis at Campers. At that point I was a sous chef and decided I still needed to take on a bit more info and learn a lot more. So PJ from Campers decided to push me on and say, look, you know, if you're going to learn, London's probably one of the best places in the world to do that. So yeah, he kind of got the bug into me, and say about 4 months after that, I really just got into the plane and moved to London, really.
So 5 years into your London experience and that journey of getting here, but being at this stage now where you have your own little baby.
You know, my partner Amy, who's sort of been the burning force behind me, trying to push me further and get me to my certain points in life and to sort of like where we are now. I mean, she's been the main person behind me, sort of that's given me the opportunity to run this little kitchen, to produce the food that I like to create, and also just make it fun. You know, the guys in the kitchen are all part of the family now. You know, we've got a little dog, a new baby girl. So, you know, the whole family atmosphere is definitely what's created me to sort of, or grab me, I should say, to sort of like do what we do here, make things fun, make things, you know, enjoyable. It's not a job, it's about coming in, creating some food, and actually having fun while doing it.
And how do you stay true to your South African heritage?
Ooh, how do I stay true? Oh, that's a tricky one. I mean, I don't really think of it that way. I think what I do is I try and sort of like play homage in terms of small elements to our menu. I mean, we're not blatantly out there South African style restaurant, so we try and do the modern European with South African influences. So for example, the morsbolletjies, we have biltong on the menu, you know, things like that. Our original menu had a peppermint crisp, but a play on it. You know, so things like that that really sort of tie into us. The spices we use, the way we cook, we use the braai pretty much for, I'd say 2/3 of the menu. There's always a smoky, burnt element to the dish that is done on our braai or blowtorch or something like that. Really plays to how South Africans really eat on a general day-to-day basis, you know.
It smells really good. What am I smelling right now?
That's the morsbolletjies.
Oh, yeah. Now, talking about the morsbolletjies, I mean, you look at your menu, and the one thing from a South African perspective that stands out is the morsbolletjies, and it sounds divine. Why morsbolletjies? Is it something special to you?
I mean, the sourdough trend has been massive, and it's been massive for a few years, and trying to be a little bit standout, a little bit different, sort of like, you know, being a little new restaurant, sort of like on the edge of Peckham, you know, you have to do something that's a little bit more unique, a little bit more niche, and you know, the morsbolletjies is something that I did in college, and it always kind of grabbed me, the whole concept of using a previously fermented product to make another product. You know, using the grape must from the first sort of like fermentation of wine, at the end of the wine fermentation, and that's your natural yeast. So that's where the basics started in terms of like, okay, let's do it. So we went through a lot of testing, a lot of sort of different batches, different recipes, until we finally figured out that this was the one that we wanted to use. So yeah, a lot of South African spices in there, and that's how we sort of like nailed it.
And how do you make it come alive on the plate?
How do we make it come alive? Ooh, well, we serve it with melted butter that's pretty much sizzling. So you've got two options. You've either got with bacon and sumac smoked butter, and then you've got baby brown shrimp, and then you've got fermented Delft butter. So they both come to the plate, to the table, and they're both foaming, sizzling, and very aromatic. So I think that's how we make it come alive. And it's very much sort of like get involved. It's not about eating it with a knife and fork. You know, you get it, you tear it apart, you jam it in the butter, and you stick it in your mouth. Right? You know, it's about being a little bit more raw with that. So yeah.
Love that. So if you had to put it into a few words, what is your food philosophy?
My food philosophy is about keeping it simple, not overcomplicating things, making sure that we're using premium products, Sort of like, it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, we use cheap cuts of meat. We don't use the most expensive fish. You know, it's about using things that are on an underlying level are sort of like known as like, I'll brush it off, I'd rather go get the fillet instead. But we use things like onglet. You know, we use smaller fish like gurnets and things like that, just because, you know, sustainability first is a big thing. And especially going forward, you know, sustainability is becoming a real big problem, you know, overfishing, you know. So that's where we sit in terms of how we want to push forward with our menus, making sure that the menu is tight, concise, sustainable, and fresh.
So somebody walks in to Kudu Restaurant, what is the experience that you'd like them to have and leave with?
I think it's about being comfortable. It's not about being stiff, it's about being relaxed. I mean, you can see the decor is a little bit more softer. It's a little bit more, it's got a touch of femininity to it. You know, it's a little bit more softer. My partner Amy, and she collabed with the designer to really get this place to really feel soft and gentle. And you know, you can get places that are stripped back, but when you walk in here, it's comforting. You walk through the curtains in the middle of winter, and you walk through, it's like you're pretty much in a concrete jungle out there, and as soon as you walk through here, it's soft. There's good music playing, you know, good funk and soul playing, so it's a little bit more loose, you can relax. Good wines, good cocktails, and yeah, I think that's the start of the meal. And how you order your menu, I think that's for you to decide, really. I would say just go for it all, really, but that's me.
I'd go there too.
Yeah.
How good does that look? There's nothing better than getting a taste of home when you're more than 10,000 kilometers away from it. And Chef Patrick Williams and Kudu Restaurant are definitely bringing South Africa to London, just like the Proteas.